Welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by La Vie. La Vie has invented and designed a variety of products, including their innovative lactation massagers, which we will hear about later. But you can go to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check out our all of our sponsors and try to see if you can give them any of your business. If you need anything, check there because they make this podcast possible. And while you're there, you can scroll down and enter your email address and get episodes sent straight to your inbox every Monday. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
And it comes off of our email, badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com. You could also put them on iTunes. We love it when you do that. It helps us quite a bit. And this says, hi, I would love to thank you for your podcast. I'm a first-time mom to a beautiful daughter, Grace, and I have been a ball of nerves. It seems like people are eager and ready to tell me what I've been doing wrong and not what I'm doing right. Listening to you has helped me find centeredness and balance as I learn my way to developing and evolving a relationship with my daughter and myself. No experience is the same, and it's a learning curve. I need to remember this. Support is essential, and positive reinforcement is vital. Thank you for your gentle guidance and direction. Stay well, sisters. And I just love how she says support is essential and positive reinforcement is vital. And you are very, very right. There's a lot of negativity out there surrounding parenthood and a lot of you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. Why are you doing this? Why did you do this? Instead of saying, you know what? You're doing a great job with breastfeeding. Look at how great your baby looks. Look at how beautiful your baby is. You're doing a great job. That does not come out of people's mouths enough. So thank you so much for recognizing that and for sending us an email, and love what you're doing. And I mean, we're all a ball of nerves when it starts, man. We
Totally.
feel ya. We get it. So I'm glad you found us. And I think that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for reaching out.
And is there someone who's not a ball of nerves right now?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't know how. So kudos to all of you having babies in a pandemic, because we're just talking about how I cannot imagine how vulnerable and scared I felt in normal times, or what I thought was normal times. And now I just can't imagine just the extra added layer of all of this stress, on everyone. So
it's crazy.
Our hearts are with you. It's totally crazy.
Yeah. So stay tuned with us. We'll all get through it together. We'll plug on. Yeah.
It's a real testament to the human sex drive and drive to
oh my God,
reproduce.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's time for us, man. We're just doing it. I mean, all animals have done it, through all times, through all of the times on this planet has gone through. It's pretty wild.
Well, good luck to all of you. We're here for you.
Yeah. And maybe we can ease some of the stress of breastfeeding with our episode today about comfort nursing.
I love this topic because it's full of crap out there.
It is. And it's amazing how controversial. I mean, I don't know why I'm amazed at this point, but it's amazing how controversial it is. A baby just being latched on. It's like people just cannot freaking understand why a baby is latched onto a breast. Oh my God. How dare you latch onto my breast and then just like stay there and not unlatch like constantly. And, if you're not eating, then you might as well unlatch because it's called breastfeeding, not breast sitting there. Oh my God.
One of my big issues with this, I have several that we're probably going to get to as we go along here. But one of my biggest issues with this is that people think that it is something that should not be happening. And I get this not only from, you don't hear it only from medical professionals, you also hear it from parents who get it from whoever they get it from, whether it be their family members or whatever. But parents all the time will be like, well, the baby's just like, they're not, like, how do I know if they're really feeding or not?
They're using me as a pacifier.
They're using me as a pacifier. That's a big one. They're using me as a That's one of my biggest. I hate that phrase more than life itself. I wasn't mocking
all of you who think that.
No,
because somebody we only say this
that.
to you.
Yeah, they say that to you, but you only think that because that's been said, right? That's what's put out there in the universe.
No, we don't understand normal breastfeeding behavior,
and this is like normal. It's not even necessarily normal breastfeeding behavior. It's normal baby. It's normal infant behavior. This is normal newborn activity, and your baby does it for a reason,
and not just newborn.
No, you're right. Not just newborn. This is normal baby activity. And there's reasons behind it, which we're going to get into, because it's not just, baby's not just terrorizing you. Like, they're not, I promise. There's a reason behind what they're doing. And until we understand that, we're going to go on through life saying, well, your baby is manipulating you and they're just using you as a pacifier, and don't let them do that because they're learning bad habits. And that's not what's going on here. It's insane.
Yeah, I think it all will start at the very beginning, breastfeeding. I think we did a disservice to all of us when we named this thing breastfeeding. Because it says to you, the word feeding is in it, right? And so it's like breastfeeding. Yeah, and we're all about eating, right? America loves to eat. So all we can focus on is eating. So they're just eating. They're here. They're feeding from my breast. They're eating. When they're done, they must stop. Otherwise, it's forming a bad habit. It must mean I don't have enough milk. It must mean something's wrong with them. They must be manipulating me. All these things. Like, it just stops right there. And that's why I love the word nursing, even though it's confusing because there is a whole field of profession called nursing. But, and this is one of the things, and, we can go back of what an episode where we did about breast sleeping. James McKenna said, we shouldn't even have this word. There's not even, the whole thing is breast sleeping. And he gets into the whole imprinting thing, which is one of the things that I think we need to focus on in this episode is what's happening. What is happening when they're latched on?
Right.
And it's not just, they're not just feeding. They're not just eating. And it's not that they're not, it's okay to let them comfort nurse. It's okay to just let them hang on there. It's not okay. It's absolutely necessary. This whole process of what is happening is there are biological reasons for it. When the baby latches on, so James McKenna, his article, I can't remember which article this was. This is the breast sleeping one, I think. What starts off with, there is no such thing as infant sleep. There is no such thing as breastfeeding. There is only breast sleeping. And he goes on to talk about, how the researcher Mobs, he talks about her research, and she identifies this term imprinting. And I'm not going to read a lot from this article because it's really dense. But Mobs and her team argue for imprinting in a way that facilitates and makes possible the neonate's immediate and instinctive move towards the establishment of oral tactile recognition of the areola around which the infant initiates its first latch. An achievement Mobs describes as mother in mouth, or latchment, an elemental but important step towards attachment.
Attachment.
This is what we're talking about with the baby latching on, especially, it goes on to describe, especially in those like moments of sleeping. It's not just, they're not feeding. They are literally forming their emotional and physiological and psychological attachment to you. And you being the basis of all relationships that they will have for the rest of their life, no pressure. Like,
absolutely.
This is literally this is such an important biological process happening here. They are forming an attachment to something else, which is the basis for the rest of their freaking life. It is, they're developing psychologically, they're developing physically. Their brains and their bodies are growing. All the neurons and the synapses are firing like crazy. And this is all happening in that them latched on. So no, it is not just okay for them to hang out there. It's absolutely necessary. It is an absolutely necessary process.
It's part of their development.
And they go, I'm going to read this next paragraph too, which is really interesting. I could read the whole article, but like I said, I won't.
And I'll link the breast sleeping episode. If you haven't listened to it, it's an amazing episode. So definitely.
Yeah. And we can link the article too, because it's, there is so much of the imprinting and all of that discussion. Accordingly, the neonate's first latch sets in motion accelerated milk production, but also likely promotes a particular trajectory of infant neural development, including potentially staving off unnecessary neuronal regression by promoting sensory engagements that enhance neuronal density and interconnectivity. We see hints of these possibilities in new path-breaking studies that reveal that breast milk may assert an organizing effect on building types of primate brains that by significantly enhancing white matter growth compared with formula-fed infants. Now, I'm not knocking formula use or bottle use because you are absolutely able to, when needed, form attachment, obviously, with bottle-fed babies. Mm-hmm. Of course, we are in a situation where that is a choice that people make, and you can form babies that are bottle-fed can certainly form attachments to their caregivers. But this is a breastfeeding podcast. And we're talking about the biology behind breastfeeding. And this right here is the science. Mm-hmm. And this is what we're talking about. And this is why we talk about breastfeeding as a biological process, because it is.
It absolutely is. Yes. Other studies indicate that this type of sucking, where the baby is doing that comfort nursing, overall decreases a baby's heart rate and lets them relax. I'm reading this from Kelly Mom, who has some great research on her site as well about things like this. She also says it seems to have a very positive effect on the baby's whole physical and emotional well-being. It is the nurturing. This is the nurturing process. Physiologically, your baby's body reacts better. It just does. And our society is so against letting babies comfort nurse that I think new parents, they see it as a negative thing. They see it as something that the baby that we shouldn't be letting happen. We shouldn't let the baby do this. But then we get it into our head. I feel like that if it is happening, we have to despise it and hate it. And I understand. Believe me, I am with all the parents out there that are like, I am just tired and I'm touched out and I need this baby to get off of me. I feel you. We have all been there. But I think understanding why this is happening is very important so that you can kind of like navigate through it, because there's a purpose and a point and there's science behind it. And it's a very important process for these babies and for you. It's not just about the baby. It's about both the parent and the baby. It's a really important piece to breastfeeding. And breastfeeding is not just food. It is not just the food part. Yes, it's an important part, but the food part is just it's
a very small fraction of actually what's going on. When you actually see the big picture of what's happening, all the aspects of what's going on when that baby is latched on, the feeding portion is actually a very small part of it. It's an important part of it, but it's all equally important. Mm-hmm.
So when somebody says, okay, my plan is to breastfeed my baby so that they get all the great health benefits, they get the immunities, they get the COVID antibodies, whatever your drive is, that is just a very small part of what your baby is getting with this, because they are getting nurturing and relationship building that they will take with them for the rest of their life. And that's like not a dramatic overstatement.
No,
either.
It is not.
It is really not.
We know this to be true of humans.
Mm-hmm.
No, and back to the annoyed with comfort nursing. Like, of course, we're all touched out. But the reason the reason this is happening too is because we don't live in a society anymore that facilitates any of this normal biological process. We are responsible for absolutely everything, when what should be happening is that your main job, we're talking about how important it is. This should really be your only job. And it should be that you are able to lay on the couch, nurse your baby. Everyone around you is bringing you what you need. Hold the baby when you need to go to the bathroom, clean yourself up, whatever. You shouldn't be responsible for anything except taking care of a newborn baby. That's how important this is.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know that that's not true, that you are also responsible for a million other things, which leads to stress, which leads to, feeling touched out, with feeling overwhelmed in all of this. And sometimes just knowing that this behavior is normal can help people feel a little less stressed out about it, because, you do, when you see this, you think that all these other things are wrong because we're told that all these other things are wrong. But when you are, when you get the picture that there's not something wrong, this is a normal behavior. And then it's like, okay, I'm stressed out, but at least I know this is normal. The other thing to realize is that it doesn't go on forever.
Right.
And the length of time that, newborns spend at the breast doesn't go on. You're, as long as you nurse, you, even if you're nursing a toddler, they're going to comfort nurse because they learned that that's comforting. Why in the world, if it's just breastfeeding, if they're just feeding, why in the world does my toddler fell down want a nurse? When I fall down, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Oh my God. Oh, that just made me realize that I'm so hungry. Oh, no, they learned that this is the comforting thing. You are their comforting person. You're their safety, their attachment. Something has gone wrong. They're going to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not creating a bad habit. It is not, dysfunctional or whatever. It is normal, and that also doesn't last forever. It doesn't impede, this is what I'm trying to say, it doesn't impede the development of independence. It actually is fueling that.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually how independence happens. They are learning to self-soothe. Just because you are part of it doesn't mean they're not self-soothing. That's what they are doing. And it will become less and less and less as they get older. So, it doesn't, I remember thinking that when my baby was nursing all the time in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this all the time. But it's hard to see phases and stages when you're in the phases and stages. It's hard to see that this particular thing will end. And that newborn, even the 6 month, even there, whatever is happening, whatever you're in, isn't going to stay that way for long, which is good and also frustrating, because usually when you get a handle on it, then it changes. But we should take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break. I have so much stuff going on in my brain right now. I know.
Take some notes.
Take some notes. I know. You always tell me that, and I always forget.
This week's episode is brought to you by LaVie. LaVie was founded with the mission to help breastfeeders everywhere with their breastfeeding and pumping journeys. They have invented and designed a variety of products, including their innovative lactation massagers, which are ergonomically designed and rechargeable battery powered to help make breast massage easier and address common breastfeeding issues like clogged ducts, mastitis, and engorgement. Breast massage can help induce letdown and improve milk flow to transfer as much milk as possible from your breast. Whether it's the original lactation massager, the massager plus warming pads popular with pumping moms, or the manual massage roller and breast comfort pads, LaVie carries something for everyone, because everyone deserves to have comfort and support while nourishing and bonding with their baby. A must-have product and a great gift for baby registries or friends and family. Check out LaVie's entire line at laviemom.com. That is LIVIEMOM.com. And use code BADASS for 15% off of your purchase. And today's sponsor and all of our other sponsors and promo codes can be found at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Also at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you can find our breastfeeding resources, all of our other episodes, and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
Where I will tell you that comfort nursing is perfectly okay.
And necessary and normal.
But I think people really try to hide it. Like nobody wants to admit that they're child comfort nurses, or they're almost like, well, I don't think they're feeding all the time. Well, he's latching quite a bit, but I don't think he's feeding all the time. And he's just, like, I think he just goes on and falls asleep. And people are really, they're almost like they're doing something wrong, like they're doing something wrong, or shame on me for not letting the baby just eat when they're there. And they don't want to like admit that this is what's happening. And this is like, that's what they're doing. That's absolutely what they're doing. And that's okay. That's okay. If you need to like pee and get a sandwich, then it's okay to, take your baby off. But this is not uncommon, unnatural, or abnormal at all. This is what your baby needs. And we all need comfort, right? We all have somebody or something that we use to comfort ourselves. And this is your baby who was part of your body, literally attached to you for 9 months. We're expecting them to just figure it out on their own. And they need that physiologically, psychologically. They need the comfort nursing in order to feel secure. You're doing something very, very vital and important for your baby and for yourself. Might be annoying at times, but when you know that this is a normal process, then it's a little bit easier. I don't know. That's just I feel like.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be.
Yeah. So there's another fantastic sentence from this article, which I'll read. They add to the list of fundamental characteristics of the neurologically immature human, or exterogestate.
That's a fancy word.
I know, a fancy way of seeing immature, because humans are of the most immature mammals, right? Mm-hmm. When we're born. And so we say, whose unfinished brain, central nervous system, immune, respiratory, digestive, thermoregulatory, and locomotor systems require continuous contact and proximity to maximize breastfeeding frequency, the foundation piece upon which models depend. So we need to, we're expecting closeness and proximity to breastfeeding. Again, I feel like breastfeeding is making us misunderstand what's happening. We want them to have close proximity to breastfeeding so that they can latch on, because all of these things that we just mentioned in the sentence require continuous attachment and latchment to facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that we just focus so much on the feeding that we're not understanding all of these totally crucial things that are happening while they're latched on. We just don't think about it.
No. And I think it's a really important piece how they mentioned that all the systems are immature. Right. All the systems are immature. We know that human babies, are born very, very immature. Their brain is only very partially developed. All their systems are immature. We've talked about this a lot. This is why you get gassy babies, because their digestive system is immature. This is why they get hiccups, because their diaphragm is immature. This is why they're spitting up, because their muscles are immature. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening that are related to your immature system on your newborn baby. And this is just another one of those things. They need that connectedness, the attachment, the comfort from their parent, because their systems are immature. They're fussy because their nervous system is immature. What is going to calm them? What brings them regulation? Being against their parent and nursing, the sucking. And then people say, "Oh, but I'm just a human pacifier. That's all I am. I'm just a human pacifier to this baby."
Yeah, James McKenna in this article talks about, also warns, I don't like to say the word warns, because we use pacifiers and thank goodness they're there, because sometimes we just need a break. But he says, like, what is at stake? Of course, breast milk itself, and ideally lots of it, promoted by an unhindered delivery system, untainted by decoys or pacifiers or separate sleep spaces. We're talking about constant contact, uninterrupted by pacifiers, uninterrupted by the baby sleeping down the hallway. And again, that sounds like a lot, and it sounds like really heavy. But they're talking about science here. We can apply this to we can make it more practical by saying, okay, we do need to use a pacifier or something. I mean, my kids would never take a pacifier, but my God, I tried. I'm like, can you please just take a pacifier for like a second? And they wouldn't do it. And there's cultures where breastfeeding is really, access to breastfeeding is more common. You don't see pacifiers.
No, you don't. Mm-mm.
You see those in cultures where, honestly, the main thing is that parents are so stressed out. We are isolated. We are stressed out. We do not have a community and a circle of people, a village, as they say. Then we're like, oh God, we need these things, to give us a little bit of a break.
Right. I mean, I always tell people, they have their place, just like everything else, right? Everything has its place, and pacifiers have their place. But we should never accuse our baby of just using you as a pacifier.
That is not what's happening.
That is
They're
absolutely
not just being
not
pacified. No, they are being pacified when they have a pacifier in their mouth, not when they're latched onto you. That is absolutely triggering a whole entire biological process. They are not being pacified.
It is, I'll make very clear, it is not a negative thing for your child to be attached to you. And people use that. I hear that comment quite a bit. Well, I don't want them to be attached, or your child is becoming too attached. That is not a bad thing. It is not. I can't even think of a reason why that would be a bad thing. But being able to let your child find comfort and nurturing when they need it, like you gave that example of, falling down and, oh, all of a sudden I'm starving because I hurt myself. That's not what's going on. Your child is found, needs to find that comfort when they are upset. And this is how they're doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, no matter what anybody tells you. People will
not
tell
only
you.
Is there nothing wrong with it, it is a wonderfully healthy behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That is a healthy behavior, an expected behavior.
Often people that do not or have not experienced nursing a baby, that's a lot of times who you hear it from.
Yeah, that's true. My dad, I remember holding Jack, and Jack was like, just, I don't know. He was latched on. I don't know what he was doing. I think he was just hanging out, he was just, he was latched on, he was hanging out. And my dad was like, oh, is he eating or is he just hanging out there? And I was like, who cares? I don't know. I'm not keeping track of this. I mean, like, you don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like, oh, what are they doing right now? Although, it's cool. You can tell when they're drinking. You can tell when they're not. But like, I don't know. And I think he was just interested. I think he was just like, oh, what's he doing now?
Yeah.
He was the first grandchild. So he just wanted to know what he was doing. He didn't care. But, it is a question that people ask. And I wonder, in cultures where it is more normal, is that a question?
Oh, I doubt it.
Do they notice? Are they like, oh, are they eating, or are they just hanging out? Just hanging out, in quotes. I hate that.
I know.
Just? When you put the word just in front of it, it sounds so minimal. It just minimizes it.
Mm-hmm. But
they're
it's
breast sleeping.
Totally normal. It is okay. And we should encourage the comfort nursing. And then I love it when you get those parents where, they've been nursing their babies for, several months, or maybe they're into toddlerhood or whatever. And they realize like, this is great. Like if, when we finally wean, how am I supposed to like calm them down? How am I supposed to, like, you fall down, they just go to the breast. It's perfect. And, it's my answer for everything. What am I going to do when that's not a thing anymore? But by the time you do wean your child, all of that comfort nursing and connectedness and attachment helps them to figure out how to soothe themselves.
Yeah, they recognize
that's how
that
it
feeling
evolves.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it evolves. But I love it when those parents are like, oh my gosh, it's the answer for everything. Because it is. It really is. It's all your baby needs in the beginning. Right? All they need, what was that one? I can't remember who put it out there, but somebody important. I should have done my homework. But they said, like, all a baby needs is food, comfort, and nurturing, I think.
Yeah,
And like
that,
they can get all of those things they get at the breast.
Yep.
Because there's nothing else that they need. Like, everything that they need is provided by nursing, which is pretty amazing if you think about it, like how powerful that is and what you are doing for your kids. Like, it's just, when you're in it, like you were saying earlier, like you don't see the phases and the stages, but when you're in it, it's like you don't see how important this is. Right. But when your kids are older, you see, like, oh yeah, that's because of my nurturing when they were younger. That behavior that they're doing right now is because they were nurtured and connected to me. That's why that's happening. And it's very comforting as a parent to know that what you did with them when they were newborn, you can still see the effects as they're older. It's a huge thing. It's a huge, huge comfort as a parent. And I'm saying that as like somebody who's experienced it, because I have teenagers and I still see it. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And if you are a working parent and you have to be away, you are not attaching to your child.
That is your way of staying attached.
Right, exactly. You are giving them that breast milk, which is so vital to the development of their bodies and their vital organs and their immunity and all those systems that we talked about. And anybody who there's exclusive pumpers, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But most pumping parents are pumping and nursing, in the evening or through the night. And there's so many ways to facilitate, breastfeeding. And that counts.
Mm-hmm.
Pumping counts. There was an account, I don't know if she's active anymore. It was called, let me see if it's there. It was attachment. I think it was called Attachment at Work.
Mm.
And it was this, a working mom who attached parents at work. And it was just all about attachment parenting and, for the working parent.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
And it's a really good one. Here, Attached Parents at Work. They're on Facebook. I don't know if they're on Instagram. But it's good. It's a great way to, to still feel, because I feel like when I don't know, maybe I'm just feeling guilty because we're talking about, constant attachment. But, also, that's something that we do in the beginning. And one of the reasons why we talk about don't pump right away.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pump the first day you have your baby. Let that breastfeeding relationship build and develop. You can wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if it's on Instagram.
And if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I just, we all have those days where it's like, all right, I just can't do this for one more minute, that my baby's been on me for, I feel like every hour around the clock and I just need a break. I can't do it anymore. That is when things like Abby was saying earlier, like a pacifier kind of thing, but like slings or carriers, having that if your baby just wants to be close to you, sometimes that is all they need, is just to be close to you. And you can usually tell, okay, the baby's teething and just super fussy today and just, wants to be latched on all the time. Those are times sometimes where you can pop them in those carriers, have them close to your body the whole day. You don't necessarily need to have them latched on, and they're getting that comfort and that security from you. If you're feeling like, I just can't have this baby latched on to me 24/7 right now, it's just too much for me. There's other ways to help your baby feel comforted. But it is really an important piece of them being that attachment piece for their well-being. They're not just, like I said, they're not just like terrorizing you. They're not just like, oh my God, I just want to be by my mom all the time. Like
Well, they want to be by you all the time.
Right. But they're not doing it because they're like,
They're not trying to be annoying.
No, they're not trying to be annoying. There was one time when my kids were little, 3 or 4 or something like that. And my, one of my kids, Brandon, was always very like on top of me all the time. And it does get to be a lot. And I was a single mom at the time. So it was like I had all 3 of them constantly on me. And I remember being at our doctor and he was like climbing all over me. And I was actively like complaining about how I just need a break. And he climbed up in my lap and I automatically like put my hand on him and like was rubbing his back when he climbed into my lap. And my doctor was like, that is why he's doing those things, because you keep encouraging it.
Ugh.
And I was like, what? And that didn't sit well with me. And remember, I knew nothing about nothing, right? I didn't have this kind of education, but I knew that did not sit well with me because it was just I didn't even think twice about it. He climbed into my lap and I rubbed his back, just like it was an automatic thing. And according to her, the more I did that, the more he was going to crawl into my lap. So I needed to stop doing that in order to get the break that I wanted.
So he wouldn't crawl into your lap? How cold are these people?
I know.
What the hell? Why do you have children if you don't even want them to be touching you?
It is.
I mean, I don't get it. I get being touched out. I don't get somebody looking at a child crawling into someone's lap and wanting to discourage that. I don't get that. That is something I don't understand.
So, I mean, we changed doctors not too long after that, but seems to be the theme. But it's, you can complain about it. You can feel touched out. You can feel like overwhelmed with it. You can absolutely be in that place. We've all been there. And you could still want to comfort your child. Like, you don't have to, sometimes we just need to talk about how we're frustrated with it. And that's normal. And that's okay. We hear ya.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful.
Bye.
And bye.
Oh, sorry.
No.
What?
No, I was just going to say thank you for listening too.
Oh, thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.